Hello my friends, Stevie B here. Welcome back to the channel. I've got something interesting for you today. I've been working on updating the Lo-Fi Hip Hop course that I host in the Production Music Academy. And one of the things that I'm going to be adding to that course is a Lo-Fi Logic Pro template, a track template that uses only stock plugins and virtual instruments from Logic. Putting this track together, I was actually pretty amazed at what I was able to pull off using only the stock stuff, and I'm keeping it like really minimal. So before we dive in here, I just wanted to say this is a great time to join the Production Music Academy because we'll be offering discounts on memberships and some of our course bundles. That's all starting this coming Monday, the 13th. Now the Logic Pro template that I'm showing you here today, I'm going to be making this available to all Academy members. And if you've already purchased the Lo-Fi Hip Hop course, you'll receive this template as well. And you can also look forward to a totally new module where we create, mix and master a track together from scratch. And by the way, for all you non-Logic users out there, I do apologize, but don't worry. I also have a very similar Lo-Fi Hip Hop template using only Cubase stock plugins, which I'm also going to be sharing with Academy members this week. Now, if you want to see some Lo-Fi Cubase tutorials, head over to the Cubase YouTube channel and check out some of the tutorials I did for them earlier this year. It was a ton of fun. You should be able to find those if you just type in Cubase Lo-Fi, maybe Stevie B, into YouTube search. It should come up. But anyway, let's jump into this Logic Pro template and see what it's all about. So there's really not like a lot happening in this template. This should be a pretty quick walkthrough, but every element in this track adds a little something special. So there is only one thing in this template that doesn't come directly from Logic, and that's the ambience. So we got some birds and some rain in the mix. And these are some textural samples that I'm putting together for the Logic Lo-Fi course sample pack. So everything else is Logic. Let's start with this piano. Logic doesn't really have like a super vibey, like felty type piano for lo-fi, unfortunately. So what I did is I just took the grand piano patch, I scooped out some of the low end, and I put it through the scanner vibrato to make it sound a little bit more lo-fi. So if we push the depth up, you'll hear how this plugin is affecting the sound. Kind of sounds like it's being put through a Leslie speaker. So I'm not pushing it that much here, but the piano sound itself is like in the lo-fi ballpark. It's not exactly perfect, but this chord progression is beautiful and it really helps to have a great progression, of course. And this is something that I took from the Vintage Keys sample and MIDI pack that you can find on productionmusictools.com. It's something I put together with my good friend Greg Norlin. Big shout out to Greg. It's just really vibey. And that just repeats throughout the whole track. So what I did was just copy that MIDI into Logic's electric piano patch, which on its own sounds like this. So doing the exact same thing as the piano, it's also going through a bit of scanner vibrato, bit of tape delay as well. I've always loved the sound of Logic's electric piano. It's amazing. So these two together are just like instant vibe. And from there, let's talk about the beat. Logic has this great drum kit called Chopped Up, which is pretty much perfect for lo-fi. And there's a few key things in this kit that I'm using. We got a kick that sounds like this, snare that sounds like this, hi-hat, and this really loose shaker sound. Let me turn this up. Which just adds the perfect amount of texture to the beat. Then we got to talk about this bass. For the bass, I used Alchemy, and there's a bit of noise baked into this patch. And we can actually just isolate this noise so you can hear it. It's really subtle. It's called Heavy Scottish Rain. And then we have this like really subby like sine wave if we add our other sources. And yeah, just a really smooth patch. You know, not a lot of action with the bass line itself. And carving out some of the low end from the grand piano really helped to create some room for that sub bass to speak through the mix. There's a few other percussive elements that kick in for this A section. We got this jangly percussion, which is one of the Logic loops, and this has been pretty severely time stretched, I think. Again, just really loose, textural. We got the shaker, these finger snaps. And there's a few other things that kind of kick in for this A section so that we kind of lift up the vibe a bit. For instance, we have this sort of arpeggiated synth patch called Mountain Rain. This is an Alchemy guitar patch, actually, and it sounds like this. And when we get to the A section, I wanted to carve out a bit of like a top line melody. So for that, I'm using three separate Logic patches. One is called Worn Tape Piano, which kind of has like a more of like an attacky sort of felt vibe. We have another patch called Soft Keys. And one other patch called Perfect Mix Piano. So really dreamy vibe. You can hear a bit of like a pitch drift there, very lo-fi. And you may or may not have noticed that there's some key elements in this mix that are being sidechained to the kick. And you can actually see it on the gain reduction meter in the mix window here, which elements are getting kind of pulled back whenever that kick hits. And that sidechaining really accounts for like why the mix sounds like really punchy. You can see it in purple here. So this Soft Keys patch, which has like a nice long decay, that's one of the elements that I'm sidechaining into the kick. We also have these Logic strings, which I put through quite a bit of chroma verb. These are also being sidechained to the kick. And those strings are really meant to just kind of like dangle in the stratosphere of the mix during this A section in order to give the track a bit of like ambient lift. And last but not least are these vocal samples. And these are all just plucked from the Logic loops, which you can access up on the top right. And there's a lot of these. I mean, there's a ton of like vocal loops and samples that you can use. To be honest, the selection, wasn't great, didn't have a lot to work with, but I did pluck two samples that I found useful, and I basically just put them through a lot of reverb. So one sounds like this, and then this. So I think these are both from the same loop, and I just chopped it up a bit. And getting the right transition samples was a bit of a challenge too. What I did was, again, I just looked at some of the cymbal swells that were in the Logic loops. I also used this tonal reverse sample. The cymbal sounds like this. So cutting it off at the peak, going through chroma verb to get that long tail. And that tail is also being sidechained to the kick. And all the elements together in the track sound like this. Bit of compression and limiting going on the stereo out, but altogether tried to keep the writing and the processing pretty simple, straightforward. I think it worked out well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That was a lot of fun. I'm going to upload this template to the Academy right now. And by the way, if you're a Logic user, don't forget to explore the fantastic stock instruments that Logic has to offer. I got like more than I need at this point, but it's good to be reminded that Logic's stock plugins and virtual instruments can actually deliver great results. And there is kind of like a nostalgic factor for me too, because those virtual instruments are what I started using long before I ever had any sample libraries or anything. Some of them are great. They've really stood the test of time. So please stay tuned for this Monday. I'm going to be rolling out some really exciting discounts for Academy membership. And by the way, if you're interested in the world of music licensing, I have a completely free course called Intro to Music Licensing for those of you who are interested in working with music libraries and interested in looking for opportunities to license your music and make money from it. You can find that link in the description below. Totally free to join up and take that course. Love to see you in there. Feel free to drop any thoughts or questions in the comments below. Hit that like button for me if you got some value from this video. And yeah, I'll be back with some more content soon. Take care, guys. See ya.